Hello and welcome to a Pokemon Nuzlocke Challenge Episode 1. Here we are playing Pokemon Emerald, and for those of you that don't know what a Pokemon Nuzlocke Challenge is, I'll explain the rules. There's two basic rules that every Nuzlocke Challenge follows. Rule number 1 is that if a Pokemon faints, it is considered dead and must either be released or migrated into a box, a permanent graveyard box, into the PC. For this challenge, we're going to be choosing the latter option. We're going to migrate all of our fainted Pokemon into a box so that at the end of the challenge, we can see all the Pokemon that we lost throughout the way. Hopefully we don't lose any, but unfortunately the nature of a Nuzlocke is that you usually will lose a couple Pokemon along the way. Rule number 2 is that you can only capture the first Pokemon that you encounter in a new region. For this playthrough, we are going to say that a new region is anything with a new name on top. And here we're naming my character Noob, for challenge Noob. Anyway, so the first Pokemon that you encounter in a new region is the only Pokemon that you can capture in that region. If it faints, if it runs away, or if you run out of Pokeballs, then tough luck. Go to a new region. We are going to make some modifications to that rule. Modification number 1 is for a lack of Pokeballs that we have at the beginning of the game. Essentially, because you don't have Pokeballs in the beginning of the game, you will encounter Pokemon and be unable to capture them. I'm going to disregard them and pretend that, I didn't see them, essentially, and once I get Pokeballs, we're going to say that's when the challenge starts. At least in the sense of being able, which Pokemon, you're able to capture. And the next modification that we're going to make is for doubles. Some people make this modification, some people do not. The modification, actually, there was an edit there. There's going to be 2 other edits during this video. I was just messing with some audio levels and some video quality levels. I hope that there won't be any edits in future episodes. I don't plan for there to be. So just bear with me with this episode. It'll get better once I work out all the kinks, essentially. Anyway, so the second modification, as I was saying, is going to be for doubles. Say for example you see a Kingler in one new area and a Kingler in another new area. Well, you can, for the purposes of this playthrough, we're gonna say you can disregard that second Kingler or that second whatever Pokemon if you've already captured one, and then the next Pokemon that you see that you've not yet captured, that will be considered the first Pokemon that you met in the new region. Everything else is the same. If it faints, if it runs away, then you're done. Your chance is over. But we're just gonna say that we don't have to capture doubles. It's gonna make it more interesting, and put a little bit more variety, so it won't be as boring, fighting with like 10 Zubats or something, because all the caves you just get Zubats. Here I'm just kind of looking for the professor. I didn't really remember which way to go. I haven't played this generation as much as I've played the other ones, and I kept confusing it for gold and silver. Anyway, so those are the rules. Oh, there's actually one more rule. It's kind of an unwritten rule. You don't need to do it for it to be a Nuzlocke, but almost everyone does do it, and it's that you have to nickname your Pokemon. I'm certainly going to be nicknaming my Pokemon for this challenge. First, I'm going to be nicknaming them after some friends of mine, because I promised them that I would do that. But afterwards, we'll see how it goes. If there are actually any comments on the videos that I upload, you can say if you want it to be nicknamed something else, and then I would have absolutely no problem with doing that. The last edit for this video just happened, so there won't be any more edits, fortunately. Anyway, the schedule. I don't have a schedule that's exactly set in stone, but I do plan on uploading these videos fairly frequently. Essentially, what's gonna happen is it's probably going to be a couple times a week. I don't expect it to be daily, not yet necessarily, but it will probably be a few times a week, so there will be regular videos coming out. At first it might be daily. Here we're choosing Mudkip. I always choose the water Pokemon generally. I don't know why, I just like them better almost always. I like them. I have a friend of mine who always chooses the fire Pokemon. I don't actually know anyone that chooses the grass Pokemon. I find them to not be quite as powerful usually. But that's not why I don't choose them. I just always like the designs of the white of the water Pokemon better. I'm not entirely sure why, but I always find them to be the most interesting and the ones that I like the best. So that's what I go with. Anyway, as I was saying, the schedule, it's going to be fairly frequently, maybe daily at first, because I've recorded a couple episodes already. We'll see, but they will be regular, and then eventually I hope to, once this channel starts getting off its feet, I hope to put a very, well, more regimented schedule of the videos that I'm uploading, hopefully eventually daily. Here we're naming our Mudkip. At first I was going to name it Noobkip, after a challenge noob, and then I was going to name it Mud Noob, because I didn't like how Noobkip sounded, but then I remembered that I promised a friend that I would nickname my Pokemon after them. So we are going to nickname this Mudkip Michael. We are going to be fighting with Mudkip the Michael. No, the other way around. Oh my goodness. Michael the Mudkip. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, if anybody that doesn't know, this is actually post-commentary. I hope to make most of my videos post-commentary. I just find that it's better, that you can focus on the commentary, your ideas are more concise. Some people like listening to live commentary because they like hearing the live reactions. Usually when I play video games, I'm extremely quiet, especially if it's a challenge game, because I'm focusing. I don't think I've ever like gasped. I mean, I've like screamed, I guess, in joy if I've beaten a really difficult boss, but that's about it. So unless I get a lot of requests, or maybe for certain videos, but at first I hope to do post commentary. So I have some notes here about some things I would like to discuss about Pokemon. I've been playing Pokemon since the originals came out, way back when. I think it's been like 15 years now, almost. Something like that. Pokemon's very old, and the number one thing that I see people around that have played all the Pokemon games, the number one thing I see them and talking about, at least amongst my friends, is kind of the future of the series, and the formula of it all. You know, for a lot of people, and even for me myself at first, Generation 4, Pearl and Diamond, it was kind of a swan song. I know a lot of people that stopped playing after those games. My girlfriend, she collected almost every single Pokemon. She almost entirely filled up the Pokedex, and then Black and White came out, and she was like, well, fuck this shit, no more of that. And another friend of mine, he did the same thing, almost. So I know quite a few people that have stopped playing, and I think even Nintendo themselves kind of realized in a weird way it was a swan song. Because Black and White, you know, they started it again. It was Route 1, it was a new setting, it was new, it was fresh. They decided to rejuvenate it, so even for them it was a bit of a swan song. But not everyone kind of liked what happened with Black and White, with Gen 5. And I tend to agree with some of the points that they bring up. The number one point that I agree with, it's kind of a weird point. And there's a lot of things and arguments that you can make, and ways that you can look at it, but it's essentially that they are too easy. I know a lot of people think they're too easy, and I tend to agree with them. The thing that the number one thing that I find, the number one thing that I don't like, is the hand holding, essentially. almost every NPC says, go do this, and they're forced conversations. It's not optional. You don't go up and talk to the NPC and then maybe figure out what to do. They just tell you what to do. In front of the new gyms, there's, let's say you're at a normal gym. Right in front of the normal gym, there's going to be some grass, and there's going to be fighting Pokemon in that grass. And an NPC will tell you, hey, this Pokemon's strong against this Pokemon's weak against this one, this gym uses this one, go catch yourself some fighting Pokemon. And in front of the first, they'll be almost the same level. You'll need to level them 2-3 levels, and they'll be able to tear through the gym like it's nothing. So it's too much hand-holding. You know, in the original games, yes, there were Pokemon around that you could capture. Yes, they were strong against that certain type of gym. But it wasn't quite as much hand-holding. They weren't as close by. It just wasn't... There was more discovery. And some of the best stories that I know from Pokemon, especially the older ones, was that sense of discovery. Finding which specific grass to go to so that you could catch the Pokemon that was strong against a certain gym you were at. You know, finding the NPC that had the thing you needed, the TM you needed, for example. You know, just the sense of discovery that's kind of lacking, I find, in the newer Pokemon games. And that kind of sense of discovery is a big part of why I play games in general. Dark Souls, my intro was a Dark Souls video, and because of that sense of discovery, figuring out how to fight the boss, how to beat the boss. Mass Effect, which I plan on uploading videos of soon, I like the options of being able to talk to different NPCs and discover more about them, and then there's a whole universe, especially in the first game. Not a universe, more like a galaxy, sorry. But still, you can explore and go to different planets. It had depth to it. And the original Pokemon games had more depth, I find, in certain ways than the later ones, because of the hand-holding. You know, children aren't stupid. They're not that stupid. I played the original Pokemon games and I had a lot of fun. We knew what to do. We bought the books, we read the books, we poured ourselves into it. There's a big community aspect. There still is that. I find a lot of children still play it. There's still a community aspect. So it's possible to make the games, you know, more challenging, more interesting, have that discovery aspect without holding the hand too much. I understand tutorialization at the beginning. That needed to happen. There needs to be a base, a foundation where everybody needs to understand what they need to do. But after that, let the player go. Let them discover. And that's where I think the future of the series should be going, personally. This is just my personal ramblings, my opinion. I'll probably get a lot of people disagreeing with me, but, you know, this is just what I think. And now we're looking at Pokemon X and Y, and it's like, well, what's gonna happen with those? You know, the 3D, that's really great, cool. There's gonna be probably another new 150 Pokemon. There's gonna be new settings and new possibilities with those settings with the 3D. So that's very interesting. But what else is there, right? Is it gonna be too easy? Is it not gonna be as fun to play because it's just holding your hand the whole damn time? It's not gonna be as fun to search around for the Pokemon. You know, it's questions like those that need to be answered, need to be looked at. And there's a lot of ideas that are floating out there. There's some ideas that I have for the future of the series. But you know, you gotta think of a formula that essentially fits kind of everybody, right? And it's hard to do that, and I'm not trying to claim that I know exactly how to do that, but you know, I'm just trying to throw ideas out there. As I said in my introduction video, I do like challenges. I love challenges. I love the feeling of joy you get when you finally figure out a way to beat a particularly difficult enemy or part of the game. But I also like discussions a lot. I like discussing the lore. I like discussing just different aspects about the game, you know, things of the story, the characters' motivations, things like that. And that's what I want to impart on my videos. That was kind of a big reason why I wanted to make videos in the first place. is so that I could try and discuss my ideas, because I know a lot of people agree with me and I know a lot of people don't. And I know a lot of people do not have time to make videos. It's a big time investment to make videos, but people like watching them, people like hearing opinions, and people can take that time, you know, oh, I got running shoes. People can take the time to comment on your videos because it doesn't take as long to make them, and it's conducive to a good discussion period. Right here I'm trying to race, huh? You gonna race me? You gonna race me, kid? Yeah, I'm faster than you. Sorry about that. I got excited because of running shoes. The game's so slow without them. The whole first game you didn't have running shoes. When they introduced them in the second, that was one of the best introductions. But yeah, I have a lot of ideas about the future of Pokemon. See here we see our Wurmple. Sorry about skipping topics, but here we see the Wurmple, and we're gonna consider this now that we have Pokeballs, the first Pokemon that we saw in this area, and we're going to catch it, and we're going to nickname it, as you're going to see in a moment, Fabio. He's another buddy of mine that I promised, and we're gonna actually end the video after this. But as I was saying, I've got a lot of ideas. I'm planning on putting some of them in the next video. If there are any comments, I don't expect there to be any at first though, but still, if there are any, you know, you can let me know what your ideas are for the future, maybe what you would like to see. I hope eventually, once this channel gets off the ground, to be having very good discussions. I plan to respond to all comments, but we're gonna end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, and have yourself a very nice day or very nice night. Take it easy.